And that man was giving me advice about my camera while he looks crispy like soggy bread.
It's my internet, okay? Shut up, Salad.
Right, this is CameraTim, and this is what his camera looks like. No. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's a little bit grainy on CameraTim's side because of his internet issues, upload issues.
It's
don't let his name fool you. He is a camera master, okay?
I'm up. Let's just roll.
Okay. All right. Ignore the pixelation. A lot of, we get a lot of Spotify listeners anyway. So welcome to the What's Kraken Podcast Ep.4. I had to look over. It's been 4 episodes already. This is crazy. Featuring CameraTim himself, the cameraman. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about finding your voice, or kind of a niche. CameraTim said, I said, what topic do you want to talk about? And he came up with finding your voice, which I thought was really cool because it's a niftier way and a cooler way of saying finding your niche, which I agreed with. I thought it was pretty cool. So we're going to roll with that. Anyway, for those of you who do not know CameraTim, why don't you give a little introduction of yourself, CameraTim? Who is CameraTim?
Oh boy. So this is a loaded question and a half, but yeah, so I'm CameraTim. I am a cinematographer and video editor of about 9 years, part of the Content Clinic, as Matt stated before. But yeah, I'm a happy father of 2, married for 3 years. Yeah, I'm 28 years old. But basically my goal in content creation is to basically have a lasting impact on people, whether it's through the stuff I create or through the stuff that I'm able to help them with. I just want to be able to make an impact on people's lives, and that's what I do.
Nice. So what got you into content creation?
So when I was about 10-ish, I had a really close friend of mine, and we just made really stupid videos in front of a camera. Right. Literally, we set a high 8 tape camera down and just did random stupid stuff in front of it. A few years later, we actually started getting digital cameras that we could put onto a computer and edit, and we started getting a little more serious about it. We ended up going to the same film and television apprenticeship down in Texas. Oh, wow. So because we both basically got each other into film. Yeah. He's much more of a motion graphics artist, and he's exceptional. But I had not necessarily always had an intriguing notion for camera operation. But it was something where every time I was behind the camera and actually moving stuff, I always found a joy in that. Right. And being able to manipulate the image or tell a story through the lens. But it wasn't until I went to that apprenticeship that I fully realized what that could mean for me in the future, and what that looked like for me professionally.
Right. What was your first camera?
Are we talking first big boy camera or first camera that I ever used?
Let's do both because I have a first camera I've used because everyone has their first,
right,
silly camera, and then everyone has their first real camera. So what was the first camera you when you said you were 10, you guys used to make videos and stuff, what were you doing, a camcorder? yeah no, it was 100% my mom's camcorder that she used to just film family videos and stuff. Right. So they had those high 8 tapes, and that's what we initially recorded on. And then the first camera I got that was actually digital, I don't even remember what it was called. I remember it was this blue thing that had a flip out screen, and it was it was something you hold a almost like a mug. Yeah. So it's I would hold it like this, and the top of it would have the lens here, and it was a funky shape. The quality of it wasn't. Yeah. The quality
wasn't like absolutely terrible, but the audio was. But we made videos on that. And then my friend purchased his first serious camera not too long after that. It was like a $1,600 camera at the time. Like now, I don't even think it could do 1080p 60 or 1080p 30, really.
Right.
But yeah, that was
at most.
Right. But that was what we rocked for a while. And then my first real camera was the Canon T3i, funny enough.
Oh, mine was the T2i. Funny
oh,
enough.
Really? Yeah, they're basically the same exact camera, except the T3i has a flip out screen. They're almost exactly identical.
That's true. Yeah, I got a T2i and a nifty 50.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember when I got the 40mm pancake lens. That was good. Yeah. That was a fun time.
Yeah. That's awesome. So real quick, for those of you who don't know, Tim is on YouTube. Tim is on Twitch. Most of what you do is video editing and stuff like that, right? So
yeah.
Talk a little. Let me hear a little bit about like when you go live, what do you do, and when you make YouTube videos, what do you want them to be about?
So a vast majority of the time when I'm streaming, I'm doing either stuff in DaVinci Resolve, like editing a YouTube video, or I'm doing stuff in Leorn board, like doing special stream stuff, or just talking about different camera editing and lighting tech. And then the other 1% of my stream is probably Rocket League. But basically the purpose of my Twitch and YouTube really is just to provide value in ways that a lot of people don't get elsewhere, or in places that they don't even realize are super beneficial. So when it comes to my YouTube channel, I make a lot of tutorials on stuff I don't really see shown elsewhere. And, obviously I haven't been making as much content as I want to, just because life is insane, in a good way.
Right.
But ultimately the goal of the channel is kind of what I was talking about previously about what my goal of content creation in general is, and basically in life is just to have an impact on people and provide value in a way that that I see a huge need for, and so I kind of want to fill that niche, because
definitely,
and this kind of goes into one of the first topics or bullet points we're going to talk about, but yeah, that's basically the purpose of it.
Yeah. No, that's great. I kind of in the same boat. Now, you said you went to, did you say you went to trade school? What did you say?
It's weird because it's not a college, of course. It's a film and television apprenticeship. It was called an internship when I went there. But now, you know what? I forgot to start recording on my audio. It's recording now. So it's a 2-year apprenticeship where we worked in a studio, and we actually did real content for big events, artists, businesses, you name it. We had a hand in a bunch of different areas. So it was basically like we were paying to get experience in place of college, because and again, I'm not really knocking college, but it was a place where like film is a place where the experience is what people are going to care about. Like no one cares about your student films, no one cares about your degree. Like they just want to see what you've done. So this place was the perfect place to get me started in that, and it's where I picked up like I didn't necessarily thrive there, but it gave me the tools I needed to be able to thrive afterwards.
Gotcha. We have that conversation quite a bit on this stream in general about the importance of college, but it's weird because I've never been to college, and I always say that I can't give you advice on that. I'm all self-taught. But there are definitely opportunities for people to learn the trade, whether it's like video editing, photography. You definitely don't need schooling. So
right.
I know you're not trying to knock it. I know the topic comes up quite a bit on this stream about that, about schooling and stuff like that. So that's interesting. You had kind of an apprenticeship. So yeah, check out CameraTim on YouTube, Twitch. What about TikTok, Tim? How come you're not on TikTok, bro?
You're not the first person to ask me that. It's not the type of platform that I'm, or I guess the type of brand that I'm trying to build, which again we'll talk about a little bit later, is not. It's not really the place for a lot of what the content that I want to make. Even YouTube Shorts would be a better avenue for me than TikTok would, because I know you can get like rapid growth through TikTok, but the key problem that I see is like people don't watch TikTok to shift to another platform; they watch TikTok to scroll through, and so that's just not my brand. So,
I agree with that a bunch. In fact, I just made a video how to translate TikTok followers, viewers to your Twitch and YouTube. You know what I mean? Because it's everyone, has this idea that if you blow up on TikTok, you're going to blow up on Twitch and YouTube, and that's just not the case. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's a good outlook. So do you plan on doing it or no? Maybe
TikTok? No, I don't think so.
YouTube Shorts though?
Yeah, I do want to eventually get into some YouTube Shorts, and again, they're probably going to be like quick tutorial oriented. It's just a matter of finding out how to do that format correctly, because doing like a vertical or square video is a little bit harder to make work. But it is something I've been considering and definitely want to go more into.
So I know you're on Instagram. I don't know if you guys heard about this or if anyone's heard about this, but Instagram is going to be turning more into a short form video format platform, kind of like TikTok and YouTube Shorts. I don't know when this is happening, but yeah. So I'm kind of excited about that because I kind of neglect Instagram a lot more than I should. Especially being somebody who's like a visual, designer. Why am I not using Instagram? I don't know. But yeah, we talked about that last week with Noah too. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't want to get into too many platforms, to where you're overwhelming yourself, because then it just has a negative effect.
Yeah. And your content, the quality of your content dips down. So if you're focused more on quantity than quality, then the quality obviously suffers.
Which I am definitely a quality over quantity guy. I don't know how you are.
Have you seen my YouTube?
Yeah. Exactly.
You see how few videos there are?
Yeah. When is quality going to be more important than quantity? That's what I want to know. It seems like in this industry, it's all about quantity.
It's weird how like content, like how the YouTube algorithm works, and like how everything is well, not everything, but most of the content is driven by watch minutes. So it's just like how much content can you get out frequently, and so it's just that mindset makes it more difficult to actually pour in your pour in the quality, pour in your passion, pour in your efforts, because the people that make it are the ones that have that quality already established, but they're able to form a team that actually, or even just do it themselves. Like they have things that they can do really fast to make something look really good, but also still pump stuff out very quickly. I think John Sandman's an interesting example of that, because he has that one of those personalities that's like very energetic, very engaging, whether you like him or not. He's built a brand of himself being somebody who's open and welcoming and very, very engaging. And he's like pumping daily videos out that are like over 20 minutes long usually. So
yeah. So that's the thing about those big YouTubers too, is like, you look at people like Mr. Beast. I'm talking about like the big dogs, Mr. Beast, Logan Paul, Jake Paul. Those guys have teams, you know what I mean? Teams of video editors, teams of videographers, writers. Linus has how many people on his payroll?
So many.
I mean? So I think people look at the top dogs and they're like, okay, I need to do just as many videos. You know what I mean? And I'm guilty of that too. You know, if I don't post on TikTok for a few days, I'm like, oh gosh, I've lost all my following. You know what I mean? But
yeah, it's so easy to get lost into that mindset too early.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm definitely a quality guy. I like to take my time, write my scripts for YouTube videos, and I think I like to come up with ideas. I think you even said this is like, you know, I always ask myself how and why, and I think there's not enough like information out there that really deep dive into things. And you had mentioned that you like to do content that's not really out there that much, which is great. How do you find ideas for creating new YouTube videos and stuff?
I usually, for me, the way I recommend to people a lot is like find something that you find really interesting that inspires you and put a new twist on that. But for me personally, after being in the industry for, you know, however many years, 9 years, I've done enough research to figure out like how are ways that I can make people's process easier.
Right.
So what I aim to do is just, I try to find like efficient ways to do things or cheaper ways to do things, even if it's not so like there's a balance of like, there's stuff that's either convenient or stuff that's a lot cheaper to do. So the way I find inspiration is I look for ways to improve people's processes and in a way that like gets them started on the right path. Like, you know, how I mentioned, recommend DaVinci Resolve for editing, because it's a very professional platform, but it's also free. And I've done a wide variety of professional work using the free version. And then even though it's not like the most easy to use, like if you were to open iMovie and stuff,
right, there's
like
there's a learning curve for sure,
right? So in my sense, like I've been able to express my voice in bringing a new light to a platform that's very unfamiliar to them. So just so that I can, that's the right way to put this, just to make it easier for people to get into the industry without feeling so overwhelmed that they have to like spend all this time learning something outside of making content. Right.
And I think that's what a lot of us in the content clinic like to portray. You know what I mean? I know a lot of my content and a lot of other content clinic members is you can do this kind of attitude. You know what I mean? And it's, you know, I think we all have the same outlook on learning and doing things yourself. And I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like learning the tools of the trade, meaning video editing, even photography, how to properly use a camera and stuff like that. All this is necessary to succeed in content creation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not only that, you know what I mean? If you get into content creation and you start looking into cameras and audio hardware and video editing, maybe you like that kind of stuff more than you would than streaming. You know what I mean? And there's so many careers out there that involve stuff like that. Yo, Slinks, thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate you, brother. Much appreciated. But yeah, learning the tools of the trade is definitely a necessity for content creation for sure.
Yeah, experimentation is huge. Like there is an aspect of like you need to just go out and start creating stuff. Like even if you don't really feel inspired, like watch a video and then try to recreate it yourself. Or actually a really good exercise that a DP showed me a long time ago was in terms of lighting. I was watching The Dark Knight, and there's the scene where the Joker's going into the room with all the thugs and everything. And the DP gave me an exercise like, okay, reverse engineer the lighting. Now that you've seen the scene, place down how you think they lit it.
And reverse engineering becomes a natural thing in somebody in your trade. You know what I mean? You always are probably picking it apart.
So it's basically like a good way to find out how to do things is look at what somebody else has already done and then figure out how they created it and then go back and like actually do something like that yourself. I think Daniel Schiffer is a really good example of this when he makes these really, really cool tutorials and then he does a behind the scenes video on how to do that type of stuff. That's a great place to, like, that's one example of a really good inspirational piece that you can actually tangibly use for something you can actually go out and do. And learn from.
Right. Yeah. I mean, finding inspiration is a whole nother topic for sure.
Right.
Hold on. I think one of our podcasts had that whole topic was inspiration, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, it was the one I did with Deadweight Design. It was finding inspiration.
Oh yeah,
as a content creator and as a designer.
I think that was the one I tuned in for. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but anyway, Darkcraft, thank you so much for the raid and Slinks. So to both of you, if I had 2 Prime subs, great content. Oh, and by the way, my name is said like Links. You got it. Okay, I was putting the X in front of it, Slinks, but we'll call you Link. Thank you so much, Links. Appreciate you. But yeah, anyway, let's talk a little bit about some advice for other content creators and how to find their voice.
Yeah.
And what advice we can give to them on finding your voice, aka niche, finding what you're passionate about. You know.
Yeah.
So, you had mentioned. I think you wrote this one down, passions, right? Did you write that one down or did I?
I think that one was you, but that was something I wanted to touch on. So,
right.
So I think because it's funny because we wrote passion down twice. I don't know if you noticed. Yeah, it's under this one, the one above it as well.
Okay. Yeah,
so we're very passionate about all of these topics.
I get it. Finding your niche or your value or your voice is all about being passionate. So
yeah.
All right, see you later. Bye-bye.
All right, that's it. Good podcast. All right. Yeah. No, it's so I'll share a bit of a story. The one I was kind of talking about earlier. So when I was at that apprenticeship, I was almost never the go-to guy, and it was very hard for me to I guess express myself or find ways to get into the places I wanted to be in. So while I was there, like there was always somebody exceeding over me in some other area, whether it was like cameras, whether it was editing, graphics, you name it. Like I could always think of somebody that was doing something better than me. Right. So how do you find where you fit in? I guess I don't like the term fit in because there's fitting in is kind of like that's a whole nother topic, but it's basically it's arbitrary. But
comfort zone. What's your comfort zone?
What's your comfort zone, or where can you thrive?
People learn at different paces,
right? Yeah. So it took me a while to figure out how to learn, which is an interesting way of thinking of it. But what ended up happening for me is like I found that I wasn't like comparing myself to others was going to hold me back in some sort of way. So
definitely.
Yeah. So I think it's easier to find what your niche is or find what you're passionate about, but it's another thing to figure out how to break through and find out how you can contribute in some sort of way, or how you can bring value to other people. Right. So what I ended up doing was, I would go off and do some of my own personal projects, like while I wasn't like transcribing or doing PA work or asset gathering, which, are just what you call the grunt work jobs. I would go and see what I could do to help other people. And so I'd like, if there was a set that I was free to be on, like I would go be on that set and I would learn from other people. And I ended up doing a lot of other things on that campus as well. Like people actually called me and woke me up just so I could help pack a van even, which, but by the time I finished that 2-year internship, I went from being like somebody you couldn't really rely on to handle a set or to handle all the bigger things to being the guy that's like, I have a problem, can you fix it? And I was like, you know what? I think I can work with this. And so I honestly took me a lot longer than I would have hoped, but I knew enough about what most people were doing to be able to go in and start problem solving. Like if somebody was having a problem with After Effects, yes, I used After Effects for a while.
We're going to talk about that. Trust me.
No, we're not. But like I would be able to go into, like I can open After Effects and see, like I can dig through things and see, oh, this is the problem. Let me just, fix this scaling issue or whatever. Or if somebody was like having an issue with converting a file or something, or it wasn't playing right in an editing software, I knew how to go in and figure out what the issue was and help them improve. So it's like that has transitioned into like what it looks like now to being a huge problem solver. But it also gave me the tools to like, okay, I don't need other people to tell me how to do things so often. I can figure out how to do things on my own. And then like when I eventually found the Alpha Gaming channel, I went into the Discord and literally my first message in there was talking about like how somebody was asking about Sony cameras and stuff, and I was like, I own a Sony camera and I'm very familiar with their funky color science. Let me know if there's any way I can help. And so that repetitive talking and helping other people turned into now I'm a moderator and stuff, and hooked up with a bunch of other groups, and there's a networking aspect to that too, in providing value to people in that way. But if that's not your thing, where you're trying to find out what your voice is, or or how you can provide value to other people, like look at areas of opportunity that people have. Look at something that you can provide for somebody that they don't have themselves. So it's like, let's say somebody has a pretty good looking gaming stream, but you see that something is not great about their design aesthetic and stuff. Like provide feedback for that person, provide something to them to make something that they didn't have before. Like it can be a number of things.
I that's how I get most of my ideas, by seeing where a lot of other people are lacking. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I went to so many Twitch channels where panels were just garbage, and panels are like the easiest things to make, right? So hey, make a YouTube video about Twitch panels, how to make easy Twitch panels in Affinity. You know what I mean? Right. And you had mentioned earlier, you said something about there's always somebody that knows something more than you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's where imposter syndrome comes into play. You know what I mean? Because it's always, at least for me, I have imposter syndrome really bad, where it's like I don't know as much as X person and as much as Y person. You know what I mean? But it's always like, but I have so much to offer people that, that don't know as much as I do in a certain area. You know what I mean? In a certain area, of course, because everyone has a specific area of expertise. And I think, and speaking about passion really quick, I think what a lot of streamers do and a lot of YouTubers do is they think, okay, I'm going to make streaming and Twitch my full-time job. What am I passionate about? I am passionate about gaming, right? And you even hear, oh man, you hear stories about even freaking Doc and Tim the Tapman and all the top streamers getting tired of playing the same old games every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's true. There will be a point in time where even if you're passionate about it, you're going to have your days where you're not as passionate about it. You know what I mean? Like, easily. And I think what needs to be said about that is that's okay. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I love photography, but there was a point in time where I just didn't want to do it anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's getting to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to go out and shoot again because it's been a long time since I've done any photography. But passion is something that is buried deep down inside of you. You know what I mean? But it's not something that's going to be completely consistent all the time. It's okay to
passions change.
Yeah, it's okay to not be passionate about something 100% of the time.
Yeah,
I mean 90% of the time is probably what I would call passionate. You know?
Yeah, I mean there's aspects of any work that you do that, like, even if it's your dream job, there's going to be aspects of it that are not very dreamy, that are not part of your passion.
And monotonous, like video editing is very monotonous. Photo editing is very monotonous. You know?
Yeah.
That's why I kind of prefer, you know, I always preferred going to locations and shooting. You know what I mean? Like, I always liked, and you're probably the same way, operating the camera or being the camera operator, where my background's more photography. I think yours is more cinema, you know what I mean? Or that cinematic, which I never really got into, but I always enjoyed traveling and going to locations and being behind the camera. And then editing was always great. Cool, but I wasn't quite as passionate about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you the same way? I mean, obviously you're like a camera operator.
Yeah. I mean, like, I do enjoy a lot of the aspects of editing. But it is definitely more tedious than the actual operation. But I kind of enjoy both, but like camera operation for sure a lot more.
Right.
But I think it goes back to knowing that you're providing value for people is like really where you can start to thrive, even if you're doing some of the grunt work at first. Like if like, as an example, if you want to make it in a film, normally you're not going to go straight into a feature film set operating cameras or doing jib operation or being director or whatever. Like, that's not how it works. Like, you're doing coffee runs, you're sweeping the floors, you're just normal PA work. Like, that's where you start.
Charging batteries, organizing equipment, carrying equipment, loading vans, like you said. But any advice that you give? Is there any piece of advice that you find yourself giving to people a lot about finding a niche or finding a passion or, building their brand?
I usually say, like, I usually ask them a question that involves, are you doing this because you see other people getting famous and making money off of it? Or is this something that you want to provide value for other people for? And is this something that is going to bring, like, is making other people happy or helping other people out going to bring you joy? Is that, like, that's something you need to think about. If you're just doing, because if you're just doing it to feed yourself, then you're going to burn out. Like, that's just not even negotiable. And you're going to find that the joy gets stripped away very quickly when you have to get the next video out, or you have to do this next stream, because it's no longer like, I want to stream this. It's more of, I have to. And once you shift that mindset, like, if you're going into this with the wrong ideals, and you're not doing it to provide value to other people, you just want to get something out of it, then you lose the passion, you lose you lose the audience, but you lose everything that the content was there for it to begin with.
Right.
So that's kind of what I lean towards, is like, the biggest thing is, what value do you want to provide to people? And that can be a wide variety of things. You can provide value to people just by being their friend. You can, like, I mean, it goes without saying, but you can provide value to people by, like, showing them how to make a design, like a very simple design. You can provide value to people by, like, being in their chat and encouraging them. Like, if they're not having a good day, you can provide value to people by, like, I'm trying to think of, like, non-monetary ways, because, like, I know not many people have.
I mean,
that,
we all hear the basic, education, entertainment, inspiration. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So diving deeper, do what I do, how and why. You know what I mean? How are you offering education? Are you offering it in a form of what you're passionate about? Great, because that'll be a long-term, long-lasting thing that you do. Entertainment. Are you passionate about entertaining? You know what I mean? I see a lot of people trying to be entertaining. You know what I mean? And it's just very obvious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here's the thing: is that there's a lot of content creators that I think are good content creators, but they're not necessarily entertaining. You know what I mean? And that's where the educational and the inspiration side of things come in. You know what I mean? You definitely don't have to hit all three key points, you know?
Right.
Not everybody's going to be educational, entertaining, and inspirational. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We all can't be CameraTim. So, you know,
we all can't be Matt Kraken either.
Yeah. Hey, you know, you know what pisses me off? Here's the thing. I had this stupid joke that I used to tell. People would say, "Oh, you should be a stand-up comedian," and I'd say, "Yeah, but I prefer sitting down," or something stupid like that. Just a stupid one-liner. You know who says that joke all the time? Who? Tim the Tap Man says that joke, and I'm like, "You fucker!" Now I can't ever say
Told
it.
Took it from you.
You got that from Tim the Tap Man. Blah blah blah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just a big guy thing. We prefer sitting down. But anyway,
no comment.
Yeah, I don't know. He's losing a lot of weight.
Yeah, he's doing good for himself. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, he's looking like a solid muscular machine now. A solid muscular gaming machine. No, good for him. He's definitely shed some weight for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, relatable. What's cracking, wheat bread?
Yeah.
So yeah, finding your. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I kind of want to expand on the personality aspect of it, because there are people that watch the really funny entertainers and think, I want to be like that. Well, that's a majority of the time that's not something that's very attainable. Like, that's something that you either go to like an improv school or some sort of comedy school for a long period of time, or you just like have the knack for it. Like, some people just don't. And I can easily yeah, and that's totally fine. Yeah. Like, if you're not, and first of all, like, make sure you have friends that are willing to be honest with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Have those friends. If you do not have friends that are willing to be honest with you, that is going to make it significantly harder to find out like how you're going to make an impact on people.
And your mom's a sweet lady. Everyone has a sweet lady for a mom. She's going to tell you you're the best. Don't get advice from your mother, because mine just tells me, you're just the best at everything, you know, and I'm just, my mom's Mickey Mouse apparently, but, oh boy, you're just the best. Having honest friends is very crucial, you know, be like, ooh, dude, that's kind of cringy, bro. I've had friends tell me that, you know?
Yeah. So I think a vast majority of the time, like, don't try to be the funny person, because that's what I tried to do. A lot of the times I'm not really a funny guy. I just am not. And I recognize that. And like, being able to see what you are within yourself and like realizing your own weaknesses or strengths are very much the first step to knowing how you can utilize your strengths or work on your weaknesses.
Definitely.
Definitely find what those things are. Like, think about if you were going into a job interview and you get the most common weird question, like, what is your biggest weakness? Right. But ask yourself that, like, what do I not do well, and how can I improve that? Or how can I leverage my strengths to make this as good as I possibly can?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, like, yeah, if you're not a funny guy, don't try to be funny. Yeah.
Stick to your strengths. Right. And a lot of people, you know, there is a lot of, you know, information out there. Just be yourself. But I think you know, while I agree with that, I do think that there is some sort of level of what's the word I'm looking for? Entertainment value that you do have to bring. I mean,
I actually have a different spin on that.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to hear that because
the be yourself thing is actually not something I use. Like I don't really say that. I don't 100% agree with it. I agree with some of it, but there's a difference between you in your personal life and you in a professional life.
Exactly.
Like if you're going to present yourself professionally, like you still are yourself, but it's a different side of yourself. So, some people, so it's like you go into a workplace and you have, just take like not Myers-Briggs, there's I think it's called DISC or something. There's DISC, whatever. But like how you present yourself in a personal form with your friends, your level of, I think it's like, let me just look up and see what those things are. But your levels of each of those categories are very different. That doesn't mean that in one area you're being yourself and the other you're not. It's just those are different sides of you. Like it's all a part of you. So I think there's something to be said of like, even as you're an entertainer, like a lot of the big content creators will say like, yeah, I'm kind of putting on a show when I do this. Like I'm a little bit more chill in real life, but at the same time, it's like, it's still a part of them. Like that's them presenting themselves professionally in a way. So I wouldn't necessarily say that, like you have to present yourself differently. It's just, there's a bunch of different sides to who you are. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, I also think like what you do never determines who you are. I think that's like a big thing that people do is like, like the first question we asked today was who is CameraTim and stuff. And it's very easy for me to say like, oh, I'm a cinematographer and editor, but that's not who I am. That's what I do.
Right. Yeah. You have a family, your family and your kids don't know you as camera operator, Tim,
Yeah. No, they do not. I mean, it'd be weird if they actually, it's funny because my son actually made me, hold on, I'm going to pull this up real quick. But, my son made me this thing. Good. So I got my Pelican case right here. And my son made me that little icon that says CameraTim on it. I know it's probably blurry and you can't really see it. But here,
hold on. Let me pull up your stream is much more clear.
Yeah. Here, I'll do it.
Oh, yeah. I can see it on your stream. So, nice.
I committed a sin and used autofocus. I know you guys are going to flame me for that. Shut up.
Hey, no judgment here. I actually, it would be nice, but because I'm using an M50, I can't because then I wouldn't have.
Yeah, it's fine. You don't need it.
Yeah. I'm not moving much. Oh, so you just turned it on. Okay, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, I only turned it on for that.
Yeah.
Just so I didn't have to touch the lens.
We won't judge you at all.
Okay.
By the way, if you're using autofocus on your YouTube or your Twitch streams, I would recommend not using it if you're not moving from your focal plane.
You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
If you are somebody who's like opening Pokemon cards and you're showing the camera a lot of things, then fine. Yeah. But if you're just sitting here in one spot playing a game, turn on that manual focus.
Yeah.
Make sure you set your focus when you do that.
Yeah. So. It's much better to like move slightly in and out of focus like this than for the whole image to be changing and being distracting. But again, separate topic.
You throw your hands up in the air and then your camera's like, and it's very distracting. At least for me, when I see
I hate it.
Video,
I completely lose focus of what I'm watching every time that happens. And then I have to like rewind and like, oh wait, that's what he said.
Yeah, I was too busy focusing on the focus. Let's talk a little bit about branding your niche or branding your voice. Let's talk about like, I think personality is a huge part of brand. I think we talked about that a little bit.
We touched on it.
Just pretty much just covered that, but like visuals and stuff. So you said you're not much of a graphic designer too much, but you design your own kind of motion graphics and stuff like that. I mean, you do.
Yeah, like pretty much everything you see on my stream is stuff that I did.
Right.
Like I'll take some inspiration from tutorials and stuff. So it's like if I see something, I can usually recreate it if it's simple enough. But I don't necessarily have the design aesthetic, but there still is very much a visual aspect to my brand. I mean, obviously, Fuji Gang for life, and but but there's an element of like, if I'm going to portray myself as this person who helps out with cameras, editing, and lighting and stuff, like I want to showcase these things in the greatest light possible. So while my stream may not be like super flashy or anything, like people can come to my stream and know that like I'm going to help them with whatever their tech needs are, and they can see this and say, okay, this guy, I guess he knows what he's talking about. So it's like I already have sort of a buy-in from people, and I'm able to communicate like this is why I have this opinion. This is why, and I try to have as objective an opinion as possible about stuff. But but being able to showcase this before I actually start giving them advice, it definitely helps with, I guess, the validity of what I'm trying to help them with.
Right. There's a lot of that on TikTok. I know you're not on TikTok, but there's a lot of drama on TikTok, believe it or not. And it's a good thing you're not over
You don't
there.
say.
But for a while there was this whole drama about why, because like here's the thing with TikTok. It's like a lot of people come into TikTok and it's like, I don't have any ideas for content. So what it is a lot of recycled content, which I don't even necessarily mind, because I'm a firm believer in, you might be the first person that you tell that to or something. You know what I mean? Like there's a million OBS tips on how to adjust your camera on TikTok. And it's like, hey, Twitch OBS tip number 542, you can alt click your camera and stuff, which is fine, because you know what? Somebody might be new to TikTok and you're the first person they see and they hit that follow button. So yeah, but very strong but here, do original content as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Come up with something that nobody has done before on top of that, which is something I always try and do, because you have your standard. I got videos that I've done that has been said a million times, but my whole thing is I like to do, like we said, how and why. I'm going to make a shirt that says how and why, because I've always been that person. But how? But why? I'm like a 3-year-old. Why? Yeah. You know what I mean? Always ask why and always ask how. So I don't know. I was kind of rambling on about that. But
yeah, I think I know this is kind of going back to a previous topic that we mentioned, but like a lot of the content that I do isn't necessarily like required for anybody to do. Like,
no, it's not.
None of the stuff that I communicate is like, you have to do this thing. Like, even though you do have to get a Fujifilm camera, you don't have to actually do. You don't have to actually do a lot of this stuff. It's just I want to help make people's lives easier or better or more efficient,
right?
Or just like, even if it's a networking opportunity, like I'm in a bunch of different communities and stuff, and,
right?
And
I think you mod for the Alpha Gaming Discord, you mod for Sam's Discord, you mod for my Discord. What others do you mod for?
There's a couple of them. The Sam's and Harris's are the biggest two, of course.
Right.
But even if it's just like I go into other communities and I find ways to help people in there, like even that can be an extension of your brand. Like you
That's
that
true.
person
That's
that like
true.
goes into other communities and says like, how can I help?
The mod king. He is the mod king. Yeah.
The mod king.
Yeah.
Not really.
Well, you're right. That could be a part of your brand, because, I was going to ask, where do you find the time? But because it's hard for me to get into Alpha Gaming Discord, I don't really spend a whole lot of time in anymore because it's just like I can't keep up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not a mod in Alpha Gaming Discord, so I have no reason to be. But I like to spend as much time in Sam's Discord and also the team, the Content Clinic team side of things. I like to be in there, but even then, it's so much to keep up with. But I mean, I guess if you are taking time out of your day to network like that, and networking is a huge thing, you know, it's good to know what other content creators are doing. It's why I have my podcast. I love having other content creators on the show, talking to them about what they do, what their process is. And I like having one-on-ones with content creators as well. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Actually, this it just came to mind, but in a different spin on this, because one person just entered my chat that is a really good example of a different kind of branding that you don't normally see. But there's this guy, I think a lot of people know his name by now, but I think a lot of people don't, but have used his stuff. But it's Exeldro. If you don't know who that is, you've probably used his OBS plugins.
Okay.
But this guy, he's basically the OBS plugin wizard.
Okay.
If you know what move transition is, that's his plugin. He has like 20 of them at this point. I think he was the one that first created Virtual Cam before they implemented it straight into OBS.
Gotcha.
But that's like another aspect of it is like he's not the type of guy to like be a huge entertainer and like show his face and everything. I've seen his face before, but he's one of these guys that. Oh, he did not make Virtual Cam. Okay, I thought it was him. That was somebody else.
Lies.
Lies. I was trying to help. But he's one of those guys that like if you know who he is, like you respect him. Right. Because you know the amount of work that he's done for the OBS community and just the amount of time and effort he pours into making stuff that, again, like a lot of people don't know a lot of his plugins exist. I just downloaded another one of them called Downstream Keyer, which is like, let's say you wanted to have like a lower third bug or whatever, or watermark on every single one of your scenes without adding a source into every one of your scenes. That Downstream Keyer does that. You can do it with any type of source. It's really interesting, but it's just that's another aspect of branding is like you don't have to be the person that's doing all the entertaining stuff or doing all of the. It's
respectable, like you said. It's people like that are innovators. They find a problem that nobody actually knew existed.
Right.
And that's kind of what innovating is solving a problem that we didn't know was a problem. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people just take things for face value. You know what I mean? So, this is the way it is. Well, and then you got your innovators that are out there like, oh, that's a problem. I'm going to fix that. And people won't know that it's a problem. You know what I mean? Here's one of my favorite quotes. I don't know if it was a real quote, but I've heard this a few times now is, when it comes to the invention of a car and somebody said, is the customer always right? And like that whole, is the customer always right? And somebody asked Henry Ford that question or something. And his response was, well, if you asked the customer what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. You know what I mean? It's like he was the innovator that invented I mean, he didn't invent the car, but he made the car a mainstream manufactured process.
Yeah, he basically invented the assembly line. Yeah,
the assembly line, exactly. You know what I mean? So I just always love that quote. If you asked the customer what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse because they didn't know they wanted cars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've always been fascinated by that quote. I butchered it for sure. I don't even know. You know,
I mean, you said it beautifully. Okay. You said it beautifully.
Right. But anyway, Exeldro, you said. Is he in your chat right now?
Yeah, he is.
What's cracking, Exeldro? Thank you for for being the innovator that we needed. We didn't even know we wanted one, but we needed one.
Yes, we did.
But yeah, I mean, and that's a good example of networking. You know what I mean? You probably networked with him, and that's why he's in your chat. You know what I mean? Am I getting that right? Or
I mean, I had seen it because like he's in Nutty's chat a decent amount. Also Andy Lippy, and I'm sure like several others. Can't think off the top of my head. Like he's in a lot of places. So and like I'm in both of those chats. So
right.
I guess it just kind of like he just randomly showed up one day. I was like, oh my goodness, Exalter's in my chat. That's cool. So, it's like Harris enters my chat. I was like, oh great. But then like Exalter comes in. It was like a big deal. Okay.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess that's like the one of the last points in the branding talk is like who you're going to be, who are you going to be known as,
right?
And it's like, or another spin on that, because we had this side topic, like, do you need to be that person that needs to be known? Like, is that a requirement for you to be able to be successful, or to be able to like have that impact and find your voice? Like,
yeah,
you don't need.
I think there's a lot of different ways you can create content, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Is what do I want my brand to be? You know what I mean? And I think that is a question that a lot of people have. I think there's a lot of people out there that you know, they want to be the next Ninja. They want to be the next Tin the Tap Man. They want to be the next huge content creator, streamer, you know, YouTuber. But I don't even know if I necessarily want that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't either, really.
I think what I want to do is what's important to me is creating the content that I want to create. And what I'm passionate about, which we talked about earlier. Now, I don't know. It's a question I still ask myself every single day is like, what do I want out of content creation? And I think it changes a lot too, to be honest, but
100%.
But definitely, who do you want to be known as is a good way to kind of wrap that up and to kind of ask yourself, you know, where do I see myself in the next 5 years, right? Do I see myself as a full-time content creator, or do I see myself still doing, you know, my day job and still doing this on the side or something? You know what I mean? So I think that is a great question to ask. I have this layout when it comes to branding. Back to the how and the why. So like I like to do this thing where, and I have it written down. It's let me make sure I'm getting it right. I have it right here. I always like to write down what is my brand and kind of describe what my brand is. Who is my brand for? Defining the demographic. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to please everybody. And the quicker you realize that, the quicker you'll be successful. How my brand will work. And why my brand will work. You know what I mean? So how is your brand going to work? What are you going to do to make it work? And why will it work? You know what I mean? You have to ask yourself, will this actually work? You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you can't think of a reason why it'll work, then nobody else is going to know of a reason why it's going to work. You know what I mean?
Right. So, and it's funny because Exalter just said in chat, he's like, you seemed like a nice and knowledgeable person. That is why I checked out your stream. I was like, well, I guess that because that means I did something right, you know, like I made an impact on somebody. Yeah. You know, like if you get that type of feedback, you know, you're doing something right.
Exactly. And I think I think it's like a little serotonin shot when people say stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it makes you feel good, you know, and I like getting comments like that too, because it makes it, you're like, okay, now this is why I do what I do. You know what I mean?
Right.
I like to, I'm sure you're a lot like me, you know, we like to educate people about stuff that we know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love seeing the impact played out. Like I don't see it every single time, right? Like I don't see everybody that watches my videos, obviously. Like, and even when I'm helping somebody in Discord, like I don't even always see their results of what I help them with. Yeah. But so it's like I don't need to see it every time, you know. Mm-hmm. But when I do get to see that impact happening, even if the people don't even realize it's me, like when I made stuff for arena events and stuff, and I saw my video up on screen, like, and I'm in the arena and stuff, and like there's probably like 10,000 people in there, and like they're all looking at something I made, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And it's like I didn't even feel like I wanted or needed to tell anybody that I did it. It's just like I made an impact on somebody,
right?
You know, and like that's enough for me. So no, as long as
I get that for sure. Yeah. I used to have a video on a marquee on Las Vegas Boulevard. That was pretty cool. But once again, it was sick. Like, you know, I felt the same way. You know, I felt like I thought it was cool, but I didn't have the need to tell anybody except for you guys here. I'm telling you now, and you guys should be all very impressed at me, and you know, tell me I'm doing a good. No, I'm just kidding.
And give him a tier 3 sub.
No. Oh man, what are your thoughts on that? I see a lot of, man, you should just go on TikTok to see some of the shit I see, bro. It's crazy. I see a lot of asking for subs, or I'll do this for subs, or I won't stop doing this until I get a certain amount of subs. To me, that's what I don't want to be as a content creator.
Oh, never.
You know what I mean? I don't ever want to be the content creator, and I'm not knocking these people. Do what you're gonna do. I'm a firm believer in fucking do your own shit. You know what I mean? Do whatever makes you happy. But I will never be the content creator. Pity content is another one too, Manny. That's a very I don't the pity content on TikTok has a opposite effect with me. Maybe it was just the way I was raised, but I was raised to, and I don't like saying this these days, and I know a lot of people would attack me for saying this, but man up. Man the fuck up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
I know a lot of people don't like the term man up anymore, but just shut the fuck up. Seriously. Nobody cares that you have one viewer and you're playing a sad song. I'm over it. And I'll be 100% honest. If anyone wants to argue that with me, I'll debate with you with it all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, you don't, like, this is going to be slightly harsh, but you don't deserve any of it.
Oh, like the people, thank you. No, you are not being harsh. Success is earned, not deserved.
Right. And the people that say like, and the ones that get me the most are the ones that say like you're here consuming free content and you're not a sub, like you're a terrible person or whatever. Like if you're that's like the lowest you can get, because basically as soon as you start shaming people or asking people for subs in order to keep the stream going, you become a charity.
Right. Exeldro,
you're basically a charity. You're basically a charity. And
no, definitely. Like, this is a free platform. This is a free platform. If you don't agree with that, then make your own platform that you have to pay for. Or isn't there other platforms that people have to pay for?
Yeah, I mean, there are.
That's just
we don't need to mention them, but there are.
Yeah, I don't even know what they're called, but
yeah, that's
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
What Exeldro, once again, thank you for the follow. And I think Drake said something. Drake said someone did that whole I'll do X until I get Y amount of subs and got their pregnant girlfriend killed. What happened?
Oh, that was like a Russian streamer or something. That was horrific. I would not recommend looking into that. Okay,
then I'll look into it.
It was messed up. It was messed up.
Okay. Yeah, that's not good. Just roll my eyes. Yeah. Try getting good, said Manny. Maybe if you have one viewer, maybe you should try getting good. That's not okay. Here's the thing. I'm not saying like if you have one viewer, you suck. You know what I mean? I've had one viewer recently. You know what I mean? It's not about that. I'm going Trovo, yeah, but it's the pittiness that gets me. It's you should feel sorry for me. No, what you should be, the content you're making is wrong. And I don't say that often, and I don't say it lightly because I don't feel like there's any wrong type of content. But in this scenario, it's wrong because you're spending your time and your effort to make people feel sorry for you when you should be offering some sort of value. That's not offering any sort of value.
Yeah. And like, and the flip side of that, because I don't want to disregard people that actually like are in a very bad place. Like if you're, if you have depression or anxiety and stuff, like those things can have a hugely tremendous effect on your content. Like I'm not ruling that out by any means.
True. I get that.
But at the same time, like even part of getting through that is figuring out how you can help people. And like, again, you don't want to push yourself too hard, because if you're in a rough place and you're like trying to pour out all you have and you don't have anything left to give, it's like I usually use just like a water pitcher. It's like, this is how much I have to give. And like after you pour out so much and you're on empty, like then everything just collapses. And like you need to be able to fill yourself up and actually have more to give. So you need to be able to receive stuff, but that's more on your like personal help side. That's not asking for other people to give you stuff. Like seek out friends that can actually help you personally and stuff, or professional help more so if you can.
Professional help if you can afford.
Yeah.
I don't like to talk about mental health a whole lot on my channel, and the reason I do that is because I am a huge advocate in people needing professional help. If you need someone to talk to, I always say, you know what, I'm here, but there needs to be an extent. I like to be careful on this topic, and
I do too. I try not to like go around. I try to generalize stuff as much as I can, because things can get really touchy, and I totally understand that
because context.
But things can be taken out of context, but
I think the best thing, because there's a lot of mental health awareness in this industry, which I think is a wonderful thing and a great thing.
It's great.
But there needs to be a professional dealing in this realm. I feel like a lot of people try and become that professional, which could have a negative effect rather than a positive effect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the best thing anyone can do as a streamer to support mental health is have a command or a panel that offers a place to go for mental health needs. Like the Twitch has a link to phone numbers, you know what I mean?
Right.
And professional help and stuff like that. But anyway, let's move on from this topic and talk more about what we were talking about. We're talking about the whole branding side of your niche and visuals and stuff. And I think the only thing we didn't really touch on was like the demographic and finding your demographic, which is, I think, a huge thing that not a lot of people think about, because how can I put this? I try to be careful with this too. I come from a background where my previous jobs, they talk a lot about their demographic, and I think that's not something streamers focus on as much as they should, or YouTubers or content creators focus on as much as they should. I think you need to understand who your demographic is, and I think a lot of content creators try and do this please everyone stuff. Stop trying to please everybody. Because
I will say the pleasing everyone thing is a topic in and of itself, but I'll touch on it briefly. There's a difference between like whether you're deciding you're making content for kids or not. Like that's a very, very generalized like demographic thing. But at the same time, in content creation, technically a goal of a lot of the time is like you need to get as many subscribers or viewers as you can and stuff. I think that misses a huge point of what content creation is actually about. Because I think there's a lot of people that would not benefit from my content as much as I would like to think that they would get a lot out of how to use DaVinci Resolve or something, or like why Fujifilm's the best. I'm subliminally inserting it everywhere in the podcast. People will be like, what is Fujifilm? Google. Yeah. But I think you don't need to be the person that like has an impact on somebody. There's a quote by this guy I very much respect. You probably don't know the name, but his name's Matty Montgomery. But he basically mentioned like if you're called to reach 10 people, but you reach 10 million, you've been disobedient. I was like, whoa, wait a second. And I was because you could, and this is like, this can have different types of effects than just content by itself. But like, let's say you reach that large number and stuff, but you miss a couple key people that could have had a greater impact and stuff. Like, let's say you reach those 10 people and then those 10 people were able to reach 100 million that you would not have been able to otherwise. Like, this is a very, very broad example, but at the same time,
it's interesting for sure.
It gives you a little bit of new perspective on like, do you want to have a quantity impact where you like made a so-so impact on a large number of people, or do you want to like completely change 5 people's lives?
Right.
So
quality over quantity. That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Because like, you could easily get roped into like, I want to be like the next top streamer, the next top YouTuber and stuff. But you could entirely miss out on like it almost sounds like weird to say, but like a deeper calling in a way, or a deeper passion. Because like being,
and that goes back to the what do you want to be known for kind of thing,
right?
It's your legacy, if you will. What do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah. And so if you leave an incredible legacy with 5 people, I would. And again, me personally, I would take that over leaving a legacy as like, oh, this guy was a pretty chill dude with like 1 million people,
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, it's an interesting. I mean, like I said, that could be a whole freaking podcast in itself.
That's why I was like, I want to touch this with one thing, and then like be a lot. There's a lot more to cover there, but
right. No, but demographic is something that I think is not something that is talked about enough within this industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you look at big companies, you know what I mean? They target their audience so hard, you know what I mean? And they know what their demographic is, you know what I mean? Look at, I mean, Nike will be able to tell you what their, I mean, everyone likes Nike, right? But they'll tell you what percentage of their demographic, what age percentage is buying more Nike, what male or female, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Nike's a pretty broad brand. Everyone respects and knows Nike for the most part, but
but it's like the same with large fast food restaurants, or like even, there's most stores really like they'll find ways to get your attention in any way that they can see possible. Like it's mind blowing, even with grocery stores, how and I've been watching a lot of food theory lately. But so I won't get into this too much, but basically how when you walk into a grocery store, you see all the produce and stuff, all the healthy stuff first. And then by the time you get to the end of the store, that's where the ice cream pizza is. So, and then there's apparently this, on average, like a 23-minute window where once you hit that point, you're like the most productive in your grocery shopping. But once you hit like 40 minutes or something, then your logic and reasoning starts to go away. And then you also feel like you had a lot of benefits, like I got some produce stuff, I can treat myself, and then you end up buying more treats at the end when you don't have as good reasoning and decision making processes as before. So it's like, but a vast majority, if not all, grocery stores do that very intentionally. Oh yeah, the layout, is to work against you and for the store. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's kind of a sidetrack of like demographics. No, that's interesting.
You said you've been watching a lot of food theory stuff. Where have you been watching it?
It's YouTube. It's MatPat. So if you, like Game Theory.
Oh, gotcha,
hello,
okay.
internet. Welcome to Game Theory. It's that guy.
Okay. I don't know. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Do you spend a lot of time on YouTube?
Yeah, a decent amount. Like when I can, like I just because I have it on in the background a lot.
Yeah.
Just like have a little bit of extra noise sometimes.
I spend a lot of time on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I think I say that if you want to be a content creator, you should be a content consumer.
Yeah, and I do that. And that's another thing. Okay, I actually have a way to tie this back into demographic, I think.
All right.
I'm like finagling. What's the word? Finagling this back into the topic. But I think that's another thing with watching a lot of other content is you can see the opportunities that those people have if you have a specific style of content that you do, and you can see I can watch somebody else's video and like they're talking about getting a new webcam or something. I can reach out to them and say, hey, if you need any help with this, let me know. Yeah. And that's a way to expand your audience in that way. So definitely catering to, well, I don't want to say catering to your audience. I mean, it kind of is that way, but increasing your demographic or finding ways to really know who you're broadcasting to or talking to is just, it can be like consuming other people's content and saying like, I noticed they did this. How can I improve that for them, or how can I help them? And oftentimes that's a lot harder to do if the person's like already pretty massive. But if they're not, then it's probably a lot easier to get a response out of them. I know Gary Vee talks about like you want to message like 1,000 people on Twitter a day or something like that. But there is some element of truth to that. Like if you have something that you can provide to people that they don't have, find ways that you can do that. And the company that I work for has a saying that numbers and money followed, they do not lead, which I think is a really good quote. That like your passion and value you provide for people comes first, and then the money and the numbers and all of the stuff, like they'll come eventually, but they're not the main goal of what you're doing. Yeah. So, and I get that like you do need monetary support in some aspect, but at the same time, if you're just out there to make the money, it's not going to come.
Right. No, I love that quote. I love that quote. It's actually, is it a quote or is it
it's a saying that they have for the company. There's like 20 different. No
one actually said it. Like,
I mean, we say it a lot. But the founder of Quicken Loans and stuff is the one that came up with it. But
gotcha. Okay.
Or at least a group of people in it. But yeah,
right. No, I like it. Peach is perfect. I just came from Discord server. Someone directed me here to check out how you use Canon M50. So good timing, actually. Good timing, because we were just going to actually jump off topic and talk a little bit about cameras. So,
Peaches, is this when we want to open up like Q&A and stuff?
Yeah, so definitely we'll go a little bit off topic and we'll start opening some Q&A. So if you guys have any questions for us, regarding, most of you guys know CameraTim and his expertise, but he is a camera professional. I'm a camera guy myself.
Enthusiast.
Well, no, I would even say I'm a camera professional, as I've had jobs.
That's right. You're more than a photographer. You're like what's the term? There is a term for it. It's like it's just above enthusiast. It's I don't know what it's called.
A Canon shooter.
We'll leave it there.
Peaches, thank you for the follow. Appreciate you. This is where Tim breaks through the wall and goes Fuji. No, so actually, I wanted to pick your brain, Tim, on on Fuji and what got you, because you preach for Fuji a lot. And which is funny because this industry is all Sony. Okay, for one, a lot of industries are Sony now.
They have so many different markets. It's crazy.
Sony kind of popped out of nowhere. I want to say 2017, 2018, and started becoming a big industry standard for a lot of photographers, videographers, mirrorless SLR camera users.
I would almost say even before that. I would say probably as early as 2015 that started happening.
2015. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. So in a world of Sony, and there's still some diehard Canon fans out there. You know what I mean? I here's the thing.
I like how you say it like it's a dying art.
well, you know what? It used to be everyone knows Canon. You know what I mean? Everyone. Yeah. And I'm talking about 2012, 13, when I really was into it.
It really was
like,
though.
If you didn't have a, what was it called? Oh, fuck.
Well, the studio that I did the apprenticeship with, like the big boy camera there was the 5D Mark II.
5D. If you didn't have a 5D Mark II, you weren't anything. You know what I mean? There was a lot of Nikon or Nikon users, however you prefer to pronounce it, wherever you're from. I've never shot Nikon. I have no interest in shooting Nikon, but I've had interest.
I actually have.
You shot Nikon?
Yep, I shot with the D800 a few times.
Well, here's the thing. This is why I have no interest in the Nikon. Is I didn't really like it because I have used a Nikon camera, but I was kind of like, I can take it or leave it. Somebody gave me a really nice Nikon camera. You better believe I'll use it. You know what I mean? But I'd never go out and buy one. No, I wouldn't either. And I'm not saying they're bad cameras. They're great cameras.
Right.
But I've been wanting to jump off of the Canon game lately and jump onto the Fuji game. So another thing is there's a lot of streamers out there that are looking for new cameras, and I think a lot of people buy the M50, which is what I'm using, and it's a good camera, but I think it has its disadvantages. Like for one, the cables come loose all the time, and they don't stick in there very well. I gotta finagle it. I don't know if that's a Canon thing or just my camera thing, but
micro HDMI sucks in and of itself. So
and I think the most sought after camera for streamers is the Sony A. What was it? 5400.
It's A5100. Sometimes A6000, and then also A60. 6100 sometimes. I don't see that one as much. It's more the 6400.
Pixel Sean TV says A7S3 or go home. JK.
I mean, A7S3 is absolutely gorgeous. I want that one.
It's a little bit above most people's price range for sure.
Right. The problem is I don't think I'll ever get it because by the time I reach that amount, I'm probably going to be buying like an actual cinema camera.
Right. Yeah.
Or even just like the Pocket 6K from Blackmagic, because that thing's insane.
Ooh, the Blackmagics are coming out with some. Yeah. They got some slick cameras for sure.
Oh my goodness, I love their stuff.
And you already use you're already using Blackmagic design software and stuff. So
the capture card. Yep.
Oh, you're using the capture card too.
Yeah.
So real quick. Shoot your Fuji shot. Why should people buy Fuji?
All right, so it's going to be the best value for money. Yes, no, I'm not going to do the meme. So the reason there's a few reasons why I switched over, because I was on the Canon train for a while. I switched over to Sony with the original A7S because that thing can shoot in moonlight. I still have it. I do want to sell it eventually. But that thing was a workhorse for me for a while, especially for documentary type stuff. But then Fuji came along when I was shooting a short film with actually a cousin, and they were using the X-T3 of all things. And as I looked more into it, and my friend had just recently bought, I think it was the X-T100. And he was showing me like some of the pictures he took, like just straight out of the camera. He would like shoot one. We were in a cafeteria or something. And then he would show me, I'm like, this looks like it was professionally edited already.
Yeah.
Like there's got to be more to this. So I started looking into it, and I was like, man, this thing looks great. And like I was editing log footage with it, and it was like the colors were amazing and stuff. But the thing I instantly kind of fell in love with was the ergonomics and of the camera are very, very intuitive. That I don't understand why other manufacturers aren't even doing this. But like, you have your shutter speed dial, your ISO dial right on top, and you can just switch them right there without having to navigate any menus or like flipping dials and stuff. It's like all the numbers are on top there, and it's just like super convenient. And all the buttons you would need are just like easily accessible, like on the camera itself without having to navigate through a bunch of menus. And like, I get you can set not hotkeys, but presets for other cameras, but I just love the ergonomics of it. And so like color science is another thing, but and then what really struck me is like the value that you get out of them. So my for what you pay for them. So I got both my XT3s for 1,000 and 900 respectively. These things shoot 4K 60 FPS at 10-bit internally. So I don't even need to like buy an external recorder. Like I have pretty much as good a recording as I need inside the camera. So that alleviates a lot of extra purchases as well. So, and then when I look at stuff for streamers and stuff, like that was what took a lot more research, but, cause we had me and, another guy in the Alpha Gaming Discord, Santanamas, we, had to figure out what cameras actually work with clean HDMI and stuff, because there's if you look online, there's very, very few little documentation on like if this stuff actually comes with this camera, like, and for a lot of manufacturers, Nikon's probably the worst. But so we ended up like figuring out, it goes like, I think back to the XT20 or something, and there's a couple other series of X series cameras, like the XA series, XE series, and found out the cheapest as of right now, it was changing quite a bit when COVID hit and like all the prices and stuff were changing. But like, you can buy an XT20, which is a 4K APS-C camera, you can buy the body for less than $400, and wow. Like it has all the color science and stuff, like probably not as like, it's not going to have as many features as mine, of course, but like as a streaming camera, it's great because it has all the stuff that you would need, and it looks amazing. So like the XA7 is also a pretty decent example. It's like very, very compact and small. Also a 4K camera as well. You can sometimes I've seen that one go with the mini kit lens on it for even as low as $400. So mostly what did it for me was the amazing colors you get out of Fujifilm cameras. Like everybody talks about their film simulations, also the value for what you're paying for. The things that are a little bit more pricey are their lenses, specifically their higher end lenses. Like those can be pretty pricey. Like their 50 1.0 is like $1,500, I think, and it's only an APS-C lens. But like that's like a very niche one, but like I got the 18 to 55 for $250, and that one's probably like the best kit like it's labeled as like the best kit lens on the market. Like most people don't even call it kit lens. It's that good. So but those are kind of the reasons.
What camera would you recommend? What Fuji camera would you recommend for somebody who was ready to make the jump from webcam to mirrorless?
So if you're doing the initial jump, you just need something that like does everything you needed to do, probably the XT20. If you wanted a little bit more future proofing and flexibility, it'd probably be the XT30. So
I don't know about you guys or anyone listening, but I would love to see you make a video on this.
I want to. I need access to more Fuji cameras before I make a serious review.
Don't even go that far into it. Just show it on B&H or Google it and say, here would be the best budget Fuji, here would be your mid range, and here would be your high range. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I could. I do want to do that at some point.
You have what, the XT20 and the XT3?
I have two XT3s.
Two XT3s. You don't have an XT20?
No, I want to get my. I really want to.
Something.
Oh, the XT200. Oh, so that one I was recommending for a little while. Mandy actually has that one as well. She has that one and an XT3. The XT200 had this unusual quirk with it because that one's more a photography camera than anything. Like that one was definitely designed for more photography in mind with video as an afterthought. Yeah. And that's just because of a little, couple features that just aren't there. Landed, my camera's so blurry because my internet is just not behaving right now. If you want to see how it looks, come to my stream and it looks a bit better. I was very limited on what I could do today because AT&T just doesn't play well with me for some reason. Anyways, yeah. But yeah, the XT200 has just some unusual video quirks because it wasn't designed for it.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. No, your camera looks really stellar. All the time. You got good lighting and stuff. I see behind you real quick. What kind of LED panels are you using?
Oh yeah, so the panels are GVM LT50S panels. I'll type that in your chat.
Okay, I have those in my wish list.
Yeah.
GVM makes pretty good products, right?
Yeah, they seem I actually took a risk on them because I wasn't sure how good of quality they are. I've been able to use them on multiple professional sets. And I bought both of them with light stands and everything, barn doors and stuff, and they're bicolor as well, for a total of $200. And they're like 3 to 4 times the brightness of Elgato key lights.
Yeah. And what compared to price?
Sorry, output as in like the brightness, luminance.
No. But the price is
$200 for both of them,
and brighter and more professional.
3 to 4 times brighter, yes. And they have barn doors, yes.
Yeah, I got those in my wish list. I'm using lamps right now. So you can see the difference between like his lighting is real cinematic, it's very dramatic. My lighting
purposeful.
My lighting is a little bit more standard, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got real cinematic lighting. I like it. But anyway, moving on. Did anyone have any questions about
so
cameras?
Yeah, I actually Link's actually asked a question, I guess like over an hour ago at this point.
Oh really? Yeah,
but Link's asking me in my chat. I don't know if they asked you in yours, but he said, hey, so I'm planning on purchasing the Sony a7 II for the holiday, and I'm looking for a good lens, preferably a wider one around 20 mil, or maybe a zoom that can reach stuff like 50 mil. I'm not very well versed in camera tech, so I really appreciate some help in the lens choice. Okay. So with the a7 II, because you're going full frame, that does limit your options a little bit, and lenses are obviously going to be a little bit more expensive. For the full frame stuff, I actually like, depending on what your budget is, like if you're willing to spend more for like the native full frame stuff, I did like, obviously you could go as Sony G Master stuff, but that's like, you get pretty pricey at that point. Sigma would be the other brand that's like cheaper but still like really pristine quality that everybody really likes. On APS-C, yeah, Sigma makes really good quality glass. Another option, though, if you want to save some bucks, I definitely suggest looking into vintage lenses.
Yes.
I'm not using them anymore on my stream because I got the 18 to 55 here, and I like the look of it. But let me just show you real quick.
Glass doesn't necessarily lose its quality over time. I know a photographer that has been shooting. He's in his 70s, and he's literally got Canon lenses from I don't know when,
the 80s,
a while ago, and they look
like
sharp
this one
still.
Yeah, this one. This is a 35. Yeah, the Canon FD 35 mil 2.0. Here I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see it a little bit better. But yeah, this thing is built like a tank. Like it's a lot heavier than it looks because you're used to all the like plastic housing and stuff. This thing is a tank.
Also, if you look
it's heavy
for older lenses on like Craigslist and OfferUp, a lot of times people don't know what they have and they'll be letting it go for a very good price.
Oh yeah, you can find some deals like the 50-1.4, a 50-1.4 Canon FD lens. You could easily find that for $50.
Mm-hmm.
And that one still looks crisp. I love that lens. And
it's probably built better than the 50 they sell these days, because that's only like $150 lens.
Yeah, and this 50-1.4 is super nice. And the great thing with vintage lenses is they are very easy. In most cases, not every single case, but a lot of cases they're very easy to adapt to mirrorless cameras because of something called flange distance. If you don't know what flange distance is the distance between or from the camera mount to the sensor. And because in DSLRs and even old non-digital SLRs, there's that mirror element in between the mount and the sensor. So the flange distance was a lot wider, meaning the lens glass, the distance from the lens glass to the sensor was a lot larger. So in order to adapt the vintage lens to a mirrorless camera, all you have to do is just build an adapter that compensates for that distance, and it's very easily adaptable. It's very different if you're trying to adapt a mirrorless mount lens to a different mirrorless mount lens. Those a vast majority of the time just don't work because there's not enough space there to make an adapter for that. But yeah, so like the adapters I use look like this, usually about $15.
Okay.
And they're super cheap, super solid. I get the ones from Photasy. I haven't had a single issue with like any of the 9 adapters that I've bought from them, except for one, which was the M42 mount, which if you don't know what that is, it's a screw mount. So you're literally screwing the lens on, and because I have obese hands, I over tightened it a little bit, and it was pretty easy to do so because of hand size. But the mount came loose. But
right, that's not fun.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Cool. Landon asked a question. He said he had to go, but it's a good question. So he said, "What is a cheap DSLR for $300 or less?" And I think a lot of people think DSLR and mirrorless are the same thing, but just to clarify, DSLR is becoming more outdated, whereas mirrorless is becoming the new norm. And mirrorless literally just means DSLR means D means digital single lens reflex. So there's a mirror in an SLR camera. In a mirrorless camera, there's no mirror in it, and your viewfinder is digital. And that's why it's taken me so long to jump on the mirrorless for photography, is I hate digital viewfinders.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I don't know about you shooting video on mirrorless cameras a lot, or do you use more cinema cameras?
I shoot on video on mirrorless cameras a lot.
So does the viewfinder bother you, or did you already?
I almost never use a viewfinder, honestly.
Okay. See, I'm more photography, so I'm always looking through the viewfinder, and digital viewfinders still, I've gotten used to them a lot, but my main camera is still a DSLR. So I still shoot on DSLR mainly, but sometimes I shoot some photo on here, and I hate digital viewfinders. But if you're looking for a DSLR for like $300, and CameraTim might know that. I know that the Rebel, what was it? The T6Is and the T7Is, don't they have? Or which one was it that had the clean HDMI?
So here's the weird thing. We initially thought the T6 and T6i did not have any clean HDMI capabilities, or maybe it's just one of them that actually does. But the weird quirk with it, and let me just double check to make sure I'm reading this right, because it's a very weird quirk. It has to do with mounting the camera upside down, and I'm not even joking.
Oh, okay. It makes sense though. I think I know what you're going to say.
The T7i has it natively. The T6i does not. But those you're going to be a little bit hard pressed to find for $300 or less. So if you needed something that like max you could spend was $300, honestly, like just go back to a T3i. Yeah,
there's not a whole lot of different, especially if you're using it, the same lens on both of them. There's not a huge a whole lot of the difference between the T3i, T4i, T5i, T6i, T7i.
In terms of image quality, there's virtually none.
There was operating the camera, you will see a difference, like flip out screens and different buttons and stuff like that. But
yeah, there was a jump, and I don't remember which series it was because I lost track of Rebel series a long time ago. But there was a jump when they went from, I think it was like 16 to 24 megapixels. So there is a jump in quality at some point,
right?
Yeah. So I'm trying to find.
Manny says, sometimes I feel like I can see focus better through the viewfinder, but that could just be because I'm not used to using a screen. It's tricky with the manual lens. So what I always liked to do...
Oh, face detect. That's what it was.
What I always like to do, it was zoom in and set the focus. But the good thing about digital viewfinders, at least on the cameras that I've used, you can zoom in on the viewfinder, which was pretty handy. So...
Yeah, that is a good feature that optical ones don't have. But I do totally see the appeal to optical viewfinders for sure.
Yeah, it's just more natural, comfortable. Yeah.
So if you want to know, like, in a nutshell, what the biggest differences between DSLR and mirrorless is, as DSLRs have optical viewfinders, mirrorless cameras tend to perform a little bit better in low light and are typically smaller. There you go.
Yeah, and most manufacturers are mainly focusing on mirrorless cameras these days.
Yeah, the technology is just a little bit farther ahead. I would imagine it's easier to develop, although they do have more issues with overheating because they're trying to cram so much into a smaller body.
Yeah, which can be a problem. I used to photograph a lot of bands, like Warped Tour.
Oh yeah.
If Warped Tour came to Vegas, forget about it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's 115 degrees outside. You get about maybe 2 songs in the set before your camera's like, hello, it's too hot outside.
Right.
And you're just like, fuck, man. But yeah, if you're shooting outside a lot, that could be an issue.
Right.
But did you get a want to become famous in your chat?
Wait, what?
Did you get a want to become famous?
Oh yeah. I banned it immediately.
Okay. It is handy too, mirrorless. It is handy too. What do you mean by that, Peaches? The good thing about mirrorless cameras is they're lighter,
Yeah.
They're not so big and beefy.
Yeah. Like even these X-T3s, even though they aren't like the smallest ones, like they're still they're not heavy. And like even the Xe4, if you look up the Xe4, it's $850 for the body. I think it's $1,050 with the 27mm lens, which is actually I thought it was going to be more expensive than that. So
that's not bad.
But yeah, that thing can do up to 1080p 240 frames a second.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good for that buttery slow-mo stuff.
Yep. And my sister has that one. So.
Oh really? Does your sister do the same thing you do, or
No, she mostly does photography as a hobby. Okay. She's actually a graphic designer.
Oh, nice. Right on.
Yeah. That's her job. So it's funny because like all of us. So another thing I didn't actually mention at the top of this, but I'm actually adopted, and so are my sisters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have 2 Chinese sisters, and then my younger brother's the only one that wasn't adopted, so we get to make fun of him for being the biological one. He's like the outcast. Our parents chose us. They got stuck with you. You're a loser.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So there's 4 of you guys. That's a big family.
Yeah, there's 4 of us. Yeah, and the really funny part is like the 3 of us that were adopted are all in the creative type industry. Like I'm in film and stuff. My sister's a graphic designer. The youngest is like theater and music. And then my brother is like very much business minded. Right. He's like, he already has his pilot's license and he's still in college. Awesome. So he's just... Wait,
wasn't your brother's name Matt? Am I remembering it?
Okay, yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
I do
he's the other
that.
Matt. Yeah.
Yeah. Dope. Yeah. Did anyone have any other questions? I know you don't want to talk too much about Resolve and Adobe and all that stuff. We'll skip over that because that could be a whole thing.
I mean, I can talk about Resolve. I just don't ask me to say anything about Adobe except how terrible it is. Just kidding.
Yeah. I get it. I get why especially you. I get why you say it because you've used both. You know what I mean? You have experience in both, and
I guess if there's any like serious note about it, like my biggest qualm with it is subscription based. Like that's honestly the biggest issue I have with it. And there's a lot of stuff that, I mean, some of the other issues I have with it are pretty objective, like lack of color management. Like that's a huge thing in what I need to be able to do. Like I want to have accurate footage, and Premiere just doesn't allow me to do that, or any other Adobe software. And then there's some other, like, I mean, everybody talks about how buggy it is because it's true, but they have like near 30-year-old code in Premiere now. So it just makes it a little more difficult, but there's stuff like that. But then we started getting into the more granular stuff. Like, I don't like how it's laid out. I don't really like Adobe dynamic linking as much as the multi-page software in Resolve, yada, yada, yada. So there's a stuff that's a little bit more personal preference to me, but
I think, I've always said it. I think use what you're comfortable with and use what you want to use. Be open to trying new things too, along with that. You know what I mean? I've used Resolve and I want to get more into Resolve. I think my biggest mistake is I jumped into Resolve and started using the Fusion page right away, and it got it turned me off. If you're jumping over to Fusion from After Effects, you're going to struggle for a bit, and the node-based stuff is a lot different. It's interesting because this is again a personal thing for me, but I struggled with After Effects for many years. I could navigate through other people's stuff sometimes, but creating stuff on my own, it's just I had such a hard time with it. It's because like things just didn't quite work the way that worked well for my brain. But as soon as I moved over to Fusion, like I was able to like connect nodes together. It almost felt like more of a puzzle that I was putting together. Yeah.
The whole process of nodes actually just made a lot more sense to me, and the color page works very similarly. So so that for me works. But I totally understand it doesn't work for everybody, especially people that are used to like layer based workflows.
Layers and it's kind of goes hand in hand with like what I'm used to, which is actually graphic design and photo editing, which is all layer based and all that stuff. Looks like Links came back and asked his question over here. He said, I don't know if you can do the chat.
I have it pulled up. So the lens choices. So I did mention a bit earlier that if you wanted to go with Sony's brand stuff, like those will work good. But Sigma has some very solid lens choices as well. Just make sure if you do buy a Sigma lens with a Sony for a full frame, make sure it's one of the DG lenses. Do not buy one that is labeled DC because those are only APS-C lenses. So don't buy the 18 to 35 f1.8 for a full frame. You'll get harsh vignetting because it's not a full frame lens. Just want to make that distinction. But so if you do buy, like Sigma's DG lenses are going to be more expensive because of full frame coverage, of course. But as far as wider lenses, like Rokinon and / Samyang are probably the most popular choices because those are pretty crisp glass for a very reasonable price. So I would definitely recommend taking a look.
Very reasonably priced.
Yeah, they're very reasonably priced. I think the brand called Laowa. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I never know how to pronounce it either.
Yeah, I think they make. I would be surprised if they didn't make full frame lenses.
I used the Tamron for video for a long time, and that was a good lens. I have the Tamron 24 to 70 because I wanted to spend a little bit money because the L series 24 to 70 is an expensive lens. Yeah. So I kind of bought I saved about 40% with going the Tamron route, and there's not a whole lot of difference between the sharpness between the Tamron. I actually kind of like the Tamron more because I have a few Canon L series, and over the years the Tamron seems to have held its durability a little bit more.
Yeah. I've always it's so weird because I've always felt weird about the build quality of Tamrons, but some people swear by them, some say they're terrible. As I guess it just depends on which one you get.
I wouldn't say they're terrible. I've had some good photos and videos taken on the Tamron.
Yeah.
Like you said, it depends on the one you get,
Right. But yeah, and then just to expand a little bit further, I was mentioning earlier about vintage lenses. Actually, I forgot I had this one here. So this one also, I bought this one for like $50. It's pretty heavy, but this is you know what this does?
I can't see what you're doing on my screen.
Oh,
are you sliding it in and out?
Yeah, up and down.
Okay.
This is zoom.
Yeah.
That is how you zoom. You push and pull. It's a push and pull zoom, and this also focuses.
Yeah.
So you zoom and focus with the same ring.
Yeah. You just slide it to zoom it.
Yeah. So this one's a 28 to 105.
Okay.
I was actually very surprised at how sharp this lens was, especially
Dude,
for like
old
the
glass is sharp, man.
Some of it is really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, for $50, 100% this is super worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like on a full frame, this gives you a lot of range.
Yeah.
And obviously there's no image stabilization because it's all fully manual. So, but
who needs it?
Yeah, I don't.
Just quit shaking.
just quit your shaking. But yeah, Canon FD lenses. So not EF lenses, but like the old FD lenses from the 80s, especially the SSC series. Those are very, very solid vintage lenses. I highly recommend. I've been rocking those for several years and doing a lot of professional work with them, and they look great. So if you want some good, like I got 4 primes for like $400 total. So yeah, and it's full frame coverage. So, and I was with my A7S initially, and so when I got the Fujis, all I had to do was just buy another $15 adapter, and I had 4 more lenses. So
save some money there.
Yeah. It's a huge budget saver.
Yeah. Did anyone else have any questions before we wrap up? Was there anything else you wanted to talk about or go over, Tim?
Could go over Linux master race. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. See, the thing,
I'm kidding.
A little bit. Yeah. So Mac or PC was one of the talking points.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna talk about it.
And he wrote Linux. Real quick though, what do you use for work? Do you use Mac or PC?
Mostly PC. I do have a work MacBook. The problem is like I'm on my 6th one from work.
Right. Yeah.
They're not good
MacBooks
for editing.
Are great, but they're I use my MacBook for photo editing. When it came to video editing, there's no way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the things I'll give Mac, like the 2 things that Mac really excels with, everybody talks about the operating system. That's one. Like the operating system is really good. The thing that people often forget when they compare Mac to PCs is the displays. Mac displays, the Mac displays are great because you have to spend a pretty penny to get the equivalent display for Windows. That's the one thing that people always forget when they do the spec comparisons. Like Mac's Retina displays are, especially, that's why graphic designers prefer them so much, because they get a much better representation on what their print's going to look like, especially if they're going for print. So.
No, definitely. But anyway. I used to have a connected to my PC. I found a way to connect what was it called? It was the Mac, the Apple display. The one that looked like the older iMacs, but it had the black border around it. Yeah,
I think I know what you're talking about.
It was a 1440p 2K monitor, but everyone was saying you can't connect it to a PC. But there is a little dongle that you can use to connect it to PC, and I had it forever. It was a $1,000 monitor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right, Links, you take it easy. Thanks for stopping in and dropping the follows and dropping some questions. I think we're about to wrap up here anyway.
Yep. I actually did want to I actually forgot that this was one of them. So I know we've been talking about cameras for quite a bit. I gave my Fuji spiel. I do want to mention the careers aspect.
Oh, right. Yeah, we kind of glossed over that.
Yeah, because I don't think this is as off topic as we think it is. So you might be able to, I don't know if you're like editing this together for Spotify and stuff. I'm assuming you are, but anyways, the one thing I want to mention, not one thing, but one of the things I want to mention about careers is, in order to make this sustainable, or to like really find out where you want to be, you want to find somebody you can learn from. And then I kind of touched on earlier, like when you start out in this industry, like you're starting out doing the coffee runs and stuff, but like,
right.
Be the person that's willing to learn under somebody. So like a great place to go is like find a studio near you or something. And like, this is just, for film, that's just one example, but like find a studio that you're willing to either intern with or just like shadow on sets, and like ask questions on how to do stuff. 'Cause you'd be really surprised at how willing people in this industry are to like talk about what they do. And people love others that are willing to learn. Like if you show very much a people willingness to learn, people will love to educate you. And like it's not 100% of the time that's the case, but a vast majority of the time it is. And I've worked under some really, really cool people. Drew Thomas is one of them. He actually shot for The Office a couple episodes.
Oh wow.
And he did his own feature-length movie. He's a very, very, very good cinematographer. So I AC'd for him on a project before, and that was a blast. Because he's super knowledgeable and knows his stuff. And he actually like let me take the camera once for a shot that like I saw something on this set that we had. So I wanted to like do. I don't know how much I can actually say about this now that I think about it, but essentially there was a shot that I saw that where if I took the camera handheld and moved it over, I could get like a really nice looking backlight on the subject. Right. And I think, I can't remember if it ended up making the piece, but it might have. But being able to like to learn and like not necessarily offer suggestions or act like stuff, like definitely don't be the know-it-all person, because they like then people will just immediately like you already dig yourself a huge hole in other people's mindset of you. So you want to be you want to make the good impression of like I'm very intrigued in this, I really want to learn how to do this.
Definitely.
So yeah, be willing to learn.
No, and you bring up a good point too, because I think my background's very similar, but with photography rather than cinematography. You know what I mean? Like I've done video stuff, but I say I'm self-taught a lot, but that's not necessarily true. I had two of my really good friends teach me the way around a camera, like my buddy Mike and my buddy Jerry. Both were. My buddy Jerry had his own photography studio. You know what I mean? He had about 15 years on me in age experience, so he had been shooting for a long time already, and my buddy Mike was going to photography school, so they had taught me a lot about photography. And I ended up later on, I think I spoke earlier about that guy who's in his 70s who's been shooting since he started shooting weddings when he was like 16. Right. So he's been shooting film, then he was shooting digital. I learned a whole lot from this guy, and you brought up a really good point, is don't be the know-it-all. I said something once on location to this guy who was in his 70s, and I shouldn't have opened my mouth because he put me in my place very quickly. And this was about 6 years ago or something. I said something about the lighting, or I said something about the daylight, and I'll never forget. I said, we should probably get going because we're losing natural daylight. And in front of the client, he didn't say anything, but about an hour later, he pulled me aside and he said, listen, if you ever mention that we're losing daylight again in front of the client, you won't be working here, or you won't be working with me. I will never call you back. I've been doing this longer than you've been alive, And trust me when I say I know I'm fucking losing daylight. You don't have to tell me that. And I was like, you got it. Yes, sir. No problem. And I never brought it up again. So, and he was cool with me. He didn't get mad. He just wanted to make it very crystal clear.
Oh, yeah.
He knows what he's doing more than I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
That's something I have and that's something I have a very hard time overcoming a lot of the times is like, just because somebody's being direct doesn't mean they're upset with you.
Exactly. And you have to learn that. You know what I mean? You have to learn the older you get. And I was, like I said, this was about 6 years ago. I was still in my 20s. I'm 32 now. So I was a little bit irritated by it at the time. But you know what? That night I slept on it and I said, listen, he's in his 70s. He's been doing this for like 50 something fucking years. And I know he knows I wasn't coming from a bad place. You know what I mean? He wanted to make it clear that in front of the client, don't bring shit up like that.
Right.
Because, and that was my warning. If I did it again, he wouldn't have. It wasn't like I wasn't on payroll. He would call me and say, I need a guy to come down.
Yeah.
And I was that guy.
Happens a lot of the time. Yeah.
Because he wasn't a video guy, but he shot for a lot of casinos. And over time, they wanted a lot of video done. So I would, shoot a lot of DSLR videos. And I was his editor. He was a film guy. He knew how to use Photoshop, but he wasn't very good with a computer. So all of his photos I would edit, and a lot of them were done on location on my MacBook later that night or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but when it came to photography, he knew what he was doing. He was a genius. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was gonna say when you made the losing daylight comment, I was like, that's when you man up.
That's when you man up. Yeah. Exactly. And I hate to use that phrase because so many people, are like,
yeah, I get it.
But it's just, this is kind of how I was raised,
Yeah.
Man up. Don't talk about your feelings like that TikTok you showed me that.
I think there's
be a man.
Yeah. No, there's still an aspect of like actually like being a man. Like it's not the Boston Be a Man where it's like, walk out of the grocery store if you can't find what you're looking for. Don't ask for help. Be a man.
Or what did he say? Something like, go to take a shit in a public restroom, leave the door open or something like that.
Yeah, be a man. Never go to the doctor. Bleed out and die. Be a man. They're so funny.
So true.
But yeah, no, I think be a man has a negative connotation to it that doesn't. I mean, there are parts of it that have been very toxic, but I think there's another side of it that that isn't really deserved. Because like they're not deserved, yeah. Because there's an aspect of like being a man is like being someone who can like take care of other people or like help other people out or be a servant leader, provider, as it were. Or provider, yeah. So like, and that's a whole nother topic again. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be gained from that. But yeah, so looking at these other things, I think we covered it all in the 2 hours that we've been going.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess 2 hours now. True. Yeah. Because I was going to say about 30 minutes of it was.
Yeah. I'm looking at the time I went live and started recording, which is 2 hours ago. So we've been going at it for a lot longer. I'm just so glad my daughter slept. Oh my goodness. If she had not, I don't know what I would have done.
Well, that's good. That's good.
I was like worried because she woke.
Yeah.
And she would have. She woke up a lot later than we expected today. So I was like, oh no, that's gonna really mess with her nap time. But she did okay.
That's good. How Tim achieved that rim effect on his shoulder? Oh, yeah. Want to tell him, Tim?
Yeah. So here, let me show you what this backlight looks like when it's off.
So yeah, the term for that is called like either hair light or kicker light or backlight.
Hair light, kicker, backlight. There's a bunch of different terms for it. But here, I'll turn it back on.
But yeah, it definitely separates you from the background. So having a light. I like how you show them too. I used to have a kicker light right here to my right, but it was off frame. I kind of like how you have it in the frame. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I will actually speak to lighting because this is something we didn't write down, but I'm glad we brought it up. Lighting is a very misunderstood science by a lot of streamers, actually, even YouTube creators. But so there's, and I do, this is another thing I really want to make a video on soon, and I think I actually will at some point. But there are multiple properties of how light works that people often get confused. Like the brightness of a light has nothing to do with the softness of a light.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is, something that doesn't get talked about. And like people are often confused when I say that. And then they get more confused when I say the closer the light is, the softer it'll be.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's another thing. So there's a number of factors. So the primary ones that you talk about when it comes to like there's discrepancy on whether there's like actually 5 properties of light or 7 properties. Like when I make this video, I'm probably not really going to touch on that. I'll just talk about the things you need to think about, which would be like obviously the luminance of the light, like how bright it is, the angle of light, the dispersion of light, and the color. So those are like the primary things, but basically a good way to determine light softness and why I have this one here. I took the diffusion out of this one so it could be harsher. But I also stuck it a little bit like as far back as I can, because the farther back a light is, the farther away the light is, the harsher it is, the more, you see the shadows. And it's, I have like half a screen here, but I've shown this on stream before. But basically, a great way to determine, or to like really not determine, but to visually see how light softness works is like take your index finger on your other finger, place your hand in front of it, and just like walk towards the light and keeping the finger and the hand the same distance apart. And what you'll notice is as you get closer, that shadow, and it's not going to show here, of course, but you'll notice that the closer you get to it, the softer, and it just like the shadow just starts to disappear the closer you get to it. Another good way of visualizing this is like the sun versus a cloudy day. So the sun is obviously a huge light source and stuff. So like the larger a light source is, the softer it will be, but it's so far away that it doesn't appear large. So if it's just a sunny, bright day, obviously you're going to get very harsh shadows because the angle of light is so, and the dispersion of light is so very narrow that the shadow is about as harsh as it can be. Now, if the sun's shining through a huge, big, cloudy day, all those clouds then become your light source. So you have this near 180 degree array of diffusion all around you. So it's this huge source wrapping entirely around you, and it's basically acting as the diffusion filter from the sun. So you basically have, like, you look at the ground, there's almost no shadow at all, and that's because it's wrapping around you entirely. So that's like an easy way to describe light softness, and understanding like how distance, size, and dispersion all factor into light softness. But brightness has nothing to do with it.
True. It is important at a certain point. You know what I mean? But no, you're totally right. That was a good explanation. I liked it.
Yeah, I'm glad we brought that up.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up the lighting thing. Pete just said I was a lighting artist and really attracted to his 3-point lighting setup. Yeah,
it's funny. I'm only using 2. I mean, outside of this cake pan light, which, DIY'd.
Yeah.
So outside of that cake pan light, I'm actually only using 2 LED panels.
Right. And that's what I like about yours. See, I could do that too. So if I kicked that off, I'd have a more dramatic look. See,
I think you should.
It's more cinematic, right?
I kind of dig that. Here, so what you should do with that light, move it behind you. Make that your.
I used to have it behind
light.
me. But I thought this was more welcoming. Do you think so? Or I know this is more cinematic, but it looks a little bit too dramatic for Twitch. What do you think?
I mean, look at my stream.
Yeah, yours is really cinematic, and I like it. And I like sometimes some streams I don't turn it on. Some streams I leave it off like this.
I think it depends on the feel you're going for too, because obviously lighting creates feel.
Right.
So like I like the dramatic stuff, but it's not because it's mostly because I want it to be eye catching.
See
which
what
has
I like
worked.
Yeah. No. It definitely. First of all, when did you change rooms? Or did you change
a few months ago? So like where I used to stream and record is literally right on the other side of that wall.
Okay, gotcha. Because it looks like you're still in the basement
new.
by the window placement.
Yeah.
How much does that natural lighting mess with things in there, or do you not usually stream during the day?
I don't stream during the day, like hardly ever. This is literally the earliest I've ever streamed in my entire life.
Yeah.
I think this is the earliest I've ever started one ever.
Yeah. No, I dig your really cinematic looking light. Now that I'm looking at it, my camera looks a little too yellow. I might mess with the white balance a little bit.
It might be a little warm. I mean, I think are you mixing a lot of different lights?
No, my key light and my fill light are the same the fuck is it? Kelvins, same light temperature. Thank you. And my background lights, I change them quite frequently.
Okay.
The background lights are pretty orange right now, and then I have that purple light right there. But
the background lights don't really matter quite as much.
They won't affect my face.
Right. Yeah.
Also, I wear these glasses that have a little bit of blue light reduction in them, and you can see there's more of an orange tint behind the lens.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because these aren't actual prescription frames, although I do need some. I just haven't gotten them in a very long time. But these are interesting because they aren't like the original ones I had. I don't know if I have those around here somewhere. But the original ones I had were like those clearly orangey yellow ones. That like basically physically took away all the blue light. But these are a bit different. Like all these are supposed to be clear, but they do have a green tint, and that's another thing is like anytime you shoot a camera through or light through glass and stuff, there's always a green tint to it. Here's a funny side story I'll get to in just a second, but yeah, so these actually like are a lot less straining because I'll be at the computer all day and stuff. So like these, you probably shouldn't color grade with these because there is a slight green tint, and I can tell like when I do this, like there is a slight green shift. But they're a lot less straining. I do need prescription ones though. But anyways, the side story, this is just kind of funny. So I was a PA let's see, sometime last year. I can't remember what it was. Or actually, it might have been just several months ago. But I was just like doing a job because it had been a while, and it was a small crew, but the DP was actually talking about the glass thing, and I think he was explaining it to either talent or somebody else. But he was explaining like they were putting green gels in the lights because there's glass in the background. And anytime you shoot through glass, it's always a little bit more green and stuff. And so we use a green gel to compensate for that, so everything looks natural. And I'm like, yeah, the glass is always greener on the other side. and then it was my first time working with that crew, so I took a chance there, and the DP was like, I like this guy, and then the director was like, oh no. So at least I got the DP's approval. There you go. So they want to work with me again, which was good. But
that's awesome.
It was just funny.
Silly dad jokes, will either make or break your career. There you go.
yeah. That's a learn your audience type of thing, right?
Exactly.
Know your audience.
Exactly. Classic.
Yep. All right. If anybody has any more questions, speak now or forever watch this podcast over and over again.
Yeah. Are you going to be uploading this at all to YouTube or Spotify? What are you going to do?
That's a good question. I wonder if I should make some shorts out of this. I probably could.
I definitely try and do that with all of my my podcasts. I didn't have my Stream Deck working today, so I didn't have like the opportunity to hit like stream markers or anything like that. But
yeah, I'm glad I recorded this. I'll say that.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. But it doesn't look like anyone's got any more questions, so we'll go ahead and wrap her up here. Tim, where can they find you? Twitch.tv/CameraTim, right?
Yep.
Okay. So if you're on my stream, I have a little command here that will give you a direct link to his Twitch channel. You don't quite often upload YouTube videos.
Not as much as I want to, but I do. I just recorded a video yesterday though, so I do have one coming out soon.
Okay.
And it's actually a different one than I normally do, but it's how to automatically reorder sources in OBS.
Oh, dope. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch that.
Yeah,
that's actually something I would need to watch.
Yeah, so basically, like let's say you have a scene of display captures. Like, let's say I have 3 monitors, and I want to be able to switch between them with a cross dissolve fade without switching to a different scene or having to create like multiple instances every time. Basically, this little trick allows you to select a scene and then say what order you want all of your sources in, and then I can just add a command that changes the source visibility from on to off. And because of OBS 27 with source transitions, you get the fade and stuff. So
gotcha, that makes sense.
I'm coming out with a video that explains exactly how to do this.
Dope. Well, I'll have to check that out. So go check out Tim on YouTube. Just CameraTim.
Thank you so much for the follow. Peach is perfect. Very much appreciated.
Yes.
It's going to be an OBS
love over there.
Yeah, Exeldro, it's going to be an OBS and Liorn board video. Yeah, I'm doing it in Liorn board, but I think any software that has access to the OBS WebSocket can utilize this trick. So I just use Liorn board specifically.
Right. Thank you, Peaches. Thank you, Beasto. Thank you, all you guys who are lurking. Greg, I know you're still there. Mandy. Thank you guys for being a part of it today. If you guys missed the beginning, middle, or the end, feel free to check it out on YouTube and Spotify. We'll be cutting this down and making it into some sort of shorts. As always, guys, I will catch you later. Thank you for stopping in and lurking and enjoying the show. And what's up, Tim?
Yep. And I was just going to say, if there's anybody in my chat that's not over in Matt's channel, I highly suggest checking out his content as well. Link to his stream in the chat, twitch.tv/Matt Kraken with a K on both ends.
That's Kraken. Yeah, a lot of people say Kraken, and it's just like
Kraken. Who says Kraken?
It's a little cringy. I don't know.
That's really funny, actually.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, well, you all take it easy.